All right. Okay. So this evening, what we're going to do, we're going to watch the video. Um, we're going to watch the video. We'll talk a little bit about it. I'm going to ask you some questions. And then I want you to just talk about the video. And then I want to ask you to think about something. And then we move on. And I tell you, I want to give us a direction and the way we're going. All right.
Okay.
So let
Okay,
me
sir.
start sharing my screen. Okay. Um, and tell me if you see come up. Did you see that? Are you guys
Yes,
see
seeing it now.
you see it? Okay, good. So I'm going to start this video. This is the same video that's on Google Classroom. All right. But we want to look at it for the next 5 minutes and see we can have a discussion about it. Here goes.
Jealous of academics who have fancy job titles like sociologist or archaeologist. They just sound so cool. But what do you do when you study religion? Am I a religiologist? Well, one of the reasons why this is even an issue is because religious studies, the academic discipline, draws from multiple methods, from anthropology, from sociology, and even some of the hard sciences like neuroscience, bringing all of these tools to the table to study the single subject, religion. So what are some of the main approaches to the academic study of religion, and how do they differ? Let's start with the sociological approach to religion. Sociology is the scientific study of society, including the structures, interactions, and collective behavior of human beings. And if we're talking about collective human behavior, religion is a great example. So it shouldn't surprise you some of the foundational thinkers of sociology studied religion. Emile Durkheim, in his book The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, tried to describe the origins and function of religion in society. Sociologist Max Weber analyzed the role religion played in economic and social structures with his essay The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. And although later studies are a little more sophisticated than Durkheim and Weber, these scholars continue to shape the sociological study of religion. Modern sociologists such as Nancy Ammerman at Boston University study the social structures and practices of religion as it's practiced in daily life, asking questions like, how do new religious movements form? Why do humans participate in communal ritual? And how do factors like gender, race, and ethnicity all influence religious identity? Studies like these use a combination of quantitative and qualitative tools, like analyzing demographic data, conducting surveys, in-person interviews, or even archival research. But all of these tools combine to identify and analyze religion as it functions in society. But while guys like Durkheim and Weber were studying the intersection of religion and society, scholars like Freud were taking a psychological approach to religion, studying how the human mind, our thoughts, our emotions, and even the biological processes of our brain influence religious belief and practice. Now, Freud famously compared religious rituals to obsessive-compulsive behavior in his essay Obsessive Actions and Religious Practices. But modern scholars have generally debunked his more eccentric approaches to religion, while at the same time building on his methodology of focusing on the human brain. Some of these studies take a more Freudian approach to religion, like Princeton Emeritus Professor Gananath Obiasekere, who uses psychoanalytical methods when studying the religions of his home country, Sri Lanka. Other scholars take a more cognitive science approach. Pascal Boyer, for example, a professor of anthropology and psychology at Washington University, St. Louis, applies the study of evolutionary psychology to religion. In his book, Religion Explained, he argues that the tendency towards religion is hardwired into the human brain, and you'll notice this sounds a lot like the hard sciences. Contemporary figures in the scientific study of religion include Dimitris Xygalatas, who measures different levels of hormone production in extreme rituals, and Patricia Sharp, who studies the neural underpinnings of meditation and mindfulness. What unites this research in the scientific study of religion is not so much a single methodology, but a tendency to emphasize reductionism and explanation. During the 18th century, the philosopher David Hume argued that religious beliefs and behaviors could be explained naturalistically, without an appeal to theological explanations or personal spiritual experience. This simple idea has formed the core of the scientific study of religion, that religion can be explained using the tools that we use to analyze any other aspect of human behavior. So at this point you might be asking yourself, well, why do we even need to bother having a separate discipline called religious studies? And one reason why this is the case is because religion is just too complex for one discipline to manage. Remember, religion is embedded in all aspects of culture. Our art, our politics, our literature, gender, race, ethnicity all influence it. Religious studies demands an interdisciplinary approach, and it demands scholars and students who are able to apply different methods to the study of religion. But none of these approaches are mutually exclusive. You can be an anthropologist of religion who uses psychological approaches. You can be a historian of religion who also uses archaeological data, like myself. But this is actually an advantage to religious studies because different approaches ask different questions and reveal different sets of data. So whether you're a biologist or have interest in philosophy or politics, you probably can find a home in religious studies. As always, thanks for watching.
Okay, guys. I was very happy to see that video because it can touch where I want to start it in the course. Basically, what we're going to do, this course, I don't know if you know, but this course largely emphasizes the theology of religions. Okay? Talk about beliefs, assessing people's beliefs, and so on. And there is a sense in which many persons who don't see the importance of theology, they see that as being a kind of unnecessary study. It's only unnecessary if you're not a believer. If you're a believer, then the theology of religion is going to become very, very important to us. I have a PowerPoint I hadn't uploaded. I'm going to upload it to you for you that you can have it. It talks a little bit about some of these things. Okay? But what is so interesting about this is that there are so many questions that we have about our own faith that we can't answer from the Bible. They're not theological questions. I'm going to give you a couple of them that come to my mind and see if you can think of some for yourself, right? So for instance, why do more women go to church than men? You ever thought about that? Or yes. So where would you get the answer for that question?
Where would we get the answer for the question?
Yeah, answer to that question.
I would say culture.
So it is not from the Bible that you're going to get the answer.
I don't know if the Bible is going to tell you why. I don't know.
The Bible might give us an answer like it's because men are sinful, right?
Because men.
I've heard people say that. But when it says that man is sinful, it's talking about men and women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the Bible really doesn't give an answer to that. Here's another one. Why do some churches grow and others don't grow? Where do you get the answer for that question from?
Economics, sir. Economics.
That's economics. Why? What? Clinton, why I say economics? Tell me what do you mean by that?
Because if you study econ, then you'd be looking at growth and decline. So maybe if we look at the church from an economical perspective, we can answer the question.
Maybe. Since I'm not an economist, I can't answer they're right or wrong.
Well, we could answer the question. It could provide us with an answer such as poor management or.
But the point is that is not Bible.
Oh, well, it's not.
You can look in the Bible.
It's not specifically Bible. We might get clues from the Bible. Go ahead, say both. I hear about so I say both. Go ahead.
It seems like Ricardo had a both.
Yeah, man, I'm saying you can find it in the. You said it just now, sir. We can get from the Bible. But the Bible speaks. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, clues from that.
that I think it's a parable. I think it's the parable about the talent, where one is given 10, one is given. I don't remember if it's a talent, but I think the moral of the story was that to those who manage what they have well, more is given. Is that the talent?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the story. So I figure you probably can use that in church growth. If you have 5 and you can't manage 5, why would you get 10?
Okay, but you know the problem with that? Jeremiah, as a prophet, preached for years. And how many converts do you have? Anybody know? How many persons listen to Jeremiah?
I
You know what?
I'm going to show you. You see it?
None.
0. So sometimes we use size to determine faithfulness. Okay? As we just heard, the harder you work, the better the results will be. So the greater the size, the harder the pastor has worked. That's the theory. What we have come to realize is that the Bible tells us that in the last day there'll be a great falling away. So sometimes the smaller the church is, the more faithful it is to God. You ever thought about that?
I've thought about it.
Yeah, no, we can't say specifically what caused a particular church to grow. I mean, from the Bible standpoint, or what doesn't we can't. We're not certain. But the point I'm making is that such a study is not just a theological study. That is more sociology, or as Clinton says, might be economics. Who knows? Any other questions that you think you could raise about religion or about the church that we might not find answers from the Bible?
Why are some pastors rich and some poor?
Okay. I can answer from the Bible though, because some pastors thief. And some pastors distort the message. That's one answer. Or it could be that some congregations are more caring of their pastors than others. Anybody else can go next one?
Jerome look like he wants to say something.
No, we can't dig up anything, no, Ricardo. I'm spaced.
Yeah. There's a book that I have read. I have it somewhere here at home. I have to look for it. It's called Why Do Men Hate Going to Church? By a guy called David Morrow. And basically what he says is that the modern day Western church is more geared to women than men. Okay? We are an emotional church, or an emotive church. We are into a lot of singing of love songs to Jesus. You know, we're the types of things that men like according to him. And you can see his bias from where he's coming from his own culture. Men like rough and tumble, men like adventure, men like doing stuff. Okay, give men a service project to do and they'll come out and do it. Don't tell them to come and lift your hands and praise the Lord. Let us tell Jesus that we love him. You know what I mean? And after I read that book, even before I read the book, I used to do this. I still do sometimes. I go to some churches that are, even my own church, big on praise and worship, and I become very disobedient as a religious observer. And I look around and I notice that many men stand with their arms folded while the women are swaying their hands and their eyes closed as they do their worship. And I listen to the words of the song. Hold me close, wrap your arms around me. That sounds very much like Darlene Jack. I talk about her husband. and men don't relate to Jesus in that way, generally speaking. In fact, the men at my church and most churches, generally speaking, the men who enjoy praise and worship strike it as being the more effeminate men.
Nah, sure, what you're talking about.
Huh?
That's what you're talking. You're prophesying.
I prophesied. You see it too.
I agree. I 100% agree with you, sir.
Nothing wrong with praise and worship enough. Don't get me wrong. And I think more of us need to become free that we can enjoy praise and worship. But those are not studies that we can do on our religion from the Bible. Not directly, not overtly. We have to do other kinds of studies on the religious elements of man to come to understand those things. So you talk about sociology of religion, talk about the psychology of religion. Okay? We can talk about the politics of religion. The politics of religion, we can talk about politics of religion. And he mentioned neuroscience of religion. Let me tell you one thing I heard about 2 years ago. I found very fascinating that, do you know that studies have shown that men in particular, but not alone, not men alone, but men who are avowed atheists tend to have poor relationships with their fathers.
Tend to have what, sir?
Poor relationships with their fathers.
Okay.
Okay, so that is now psychology, sociology, all that coming through. Okay, and I've thought long and hard about that. You know, some people that I see beating up their gums and cussing off Christians and so on. And as a matter of fact, one of my friends from school, from high school, still my friend today, he is an atheist, very prominent Jamaican journalist who will remain nameless for the time being. He's a very ardent, avowed atheist. At 4 years of age, he witnessed his father murdering his mother.
Wow.
And it was based on his testimony that his father was convicted and sentenced to be hung. Okay? At 4 years of age, the great Frank Phipps defended his father. No, this is like 1917 or thereabouts. The great Frank Phipps defended his father and objected to the youngster taking the stand to testify against his father because he was poor. Okay? And he said he was so small that they had to put larts across the handles of the chair in the courtroom from the sit on it that they could see him. And the judge turned to him and said to him, called him by name and said, "Do you think you can tell us what happened on the day?" He was in the car with his mother and his father. Very abusive relationship. Mother had run away from his father. Father found her back and told her that he just wanted to speak with her. She took her son, her youngest son, with her. Took her youngest son, thinking that because the youngest son was with her, she was safe. The man drove her somewhere off Redlands Road, threw the 4-year-old boy out of the car, and proceeded to stab his wife repeatedly until she was dead. And the little boy saw everything. And the judge asked him, "Do you think you can tell us what happened?" He says, yes, sir, I can tell you everything that happened. So why should we trust you? He said, because my mom always told me to speak the truth and speak it, ever cost it what you will. Because he who hides the wrong he did will do the wrong thing still. This is a 4-year-old boy quoted the proverb that his mother always taught him. And the judge said, "I think I can listen to you." And he told the story. And the only witness against his father, and the court found the man guilty and he was sentenced to be hung. And this is what saved him. Hear this. The man's sister-in-law, who was in the court, when the judge sentenced him to be hung, she stood. She said, Your Honor, my nephew has lost his mother to violence. Please don't let him lose his father to violence too. This is going to significantly scar him for the rest of his life. And the judge paused and changed his sentence to life imprisonment, the possibility of parole after so many years. And that's what saved the man. The man served his prison sentence, and when his prison sentence was over, he was released from prison. He migrated to the USA, okay? Got to live in the USA. He got remarried, have another family. And when my friend had 3 sons from his first marriage, and none of his children speak to him except my friend. Okay? And he said, I contacted my father because it's a pain that has troubled me all my life. I said to him, it really affect you? He said, you don't see, me turn Rasta man. He said, me turn Rasta and me turn drunkard. He said, you say, I'm a journalist, and say type of stories that we cover. Because that type of stories that we cover are domestic violence and picnic get killed and all them things there. He said, I'm trying to work out my father's pain. Okay, and he said, look at my brother. Brother, you know the brother, look on the intern gate. He said, the whole way mash up because of this. No, you're not going to. No, he turns out to be an atheist. He doesn't come from a strong church background. He has turned out to be an atheist, and there are studies that are suggesting, sociological studies that are suggesting that people like him are working out the struggles that they had with their father. He told me that he spoke to his father, and his father told him that, look, I don't regret anything I did. No regrets. Him say, and his father died last year. Then called me, and said, David, this year, during COVID, March, when COVID just started, he said, David, my father died, and his family in New York, they have called me and asked me if I can bring a memorial. What am I going to say? He said, the only reason why I doing it is because a couple of years ago, I said, I can't continue the hatred that pulled me down. So I reached out to my father. I told my father, I said, I set aside bitterness as much as I can, and I tell you, I forgive you. He was not a Christian. He says the only way he can move forward. That is sociology now, or psychology, that we have to study for that. All right? So what we're going to find out then is that when we're studying religion, this is religious thoughts and systems, we have to come to understand a little bit more than just the theology, even though we are going to focus on the theology in this class. And by theology, I mean the belief systems, why they have come to some beliefs, what do they try to accomplish from some beliefs and so on, right? We are going to focus on some of the major religions in the world: Islam, Judaism, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. Well, we're going to look at those from the standpoint of Christianity. But not only that, we also want to focus on some of what we call the cults of Christianity. And we can't do every single one of them. We have to look at the cursory types of glances at some of the ones more popular to us, more that we might more be able to associate with the Caribbean, okay, and in Jamaica. So talk about Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, and there are a few others we probably can talk about. But what we want to come to understand is how their systems develop, what the systems are, and we have to try to critique what they try to critique. Yeah. Before we get there, though, there are so many other things because we need to understand why do people go to these religions or these cults? You think you have any understanding why people do that?
Obviously, now we are trying to find, seeking for whatever they think is right. I mean, you know, I think that each of them would differentiate themselves from Christianity. Can say that you're seeking to find something that is probably near to what they call an absolute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else? Let me tell you one reason why they don't do it, and you might find it surprising. One reason why they do not do it is doctrine. It's not doctrine that get people to associate with a particular group. They associate with the doctrine because they have chosen the group. All right? So when you find a man who has converted to Seventh-day Adventism, sorry, hope you don't get any COVID from that. When you find a man who has gone to, I'm just calling some church groups, right? Gone to a Seventh-day Adventist group, or you find a man gone to a Virgin church. I go to Virgin church, or I'm gone to Nazarene church, or I'm gone somewhere else. And choose whatever church you want to go. And you hear him say, "Boy, I believe them doctrine more than your doctrine." It's not the doctrine why he left.
Sir.
Usually, it's not the doctrine.
Sir?
Usually, it's not the doctrine why he left.
Sir?
Sir, what?
It's Ricardo.
Yes, Ricardo.
Are you saying that Seventh-day Adventists are called? Are you just
No, I call a number of churches. I said, when a person leave from one church and go to a next church,
Mm-hmm.
and then him say he believes their doctrine more than your church, the previous church.
Yeah.
It's not the doctrine why he left.
Okay.
It's the association with the church why he chose the doctrine. Okay? He chose the church, and then he took on the doctrine as his own.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Whichever church you go to, any church, whether you call it any church or religion that he goes to, it's not the doctrine that pulls him away at first. Okay? Even if he comes to the place where he holds on to the doctrine as being important to him, that's not what got him going. Right? There are other reasons. And we want them 5 participants. Is that 50? Yeah, or 51. Yeah. Yeah. So we need to come to understand those things. And religion plays such a very important role in our lives. Why do you think, what's the importance of religion? Why is religion so important?
Oh, it's a question, sir?
Yes. Why is it so important?
I mean, well, well, if we look at it, allow me to speak from a sociological point of view. One sociologist said that it is the opium of the people, the sigh of the oppressed, the sigh of relief for the oppressed. So if you look at it from that angle, religion actually offers you some amount of comfort. You know, when you think about the harsh realities that people are faced with daily, religion somewhat offers them hope. You know, it is one source of hope, and it offers you hope in the present and also a future hope. So
Okay.
it is giving you, in all religions, it's telling you, oh, there is better yet to come for in the future.
Okay. So religion offers
Sir.
us hope. Yes.
Yes, I'm going to agree with Clinton, but I'm going to change one word that he used.
Okay.
And I'm going to say religion is the hope of the oppressed.
Religion
And then
is the hope of the oppressed.
yes,
Okay.
and I agree with everything else that Clinton just said.
So what do you mean by that? It's a hope of the oppressed.
Because the oppressed is someone who's hopeless. There is no other way or no other place for them to turn. And as Clinton just said, religion offers hope of not just a better life, no, but a better life in the future.
Okay.
So it offers hope. It offers hope. There's nowhere else to get hope. You can't get hope from a political party, even though we might be associated with one. The truth is, I was thinking about this today, that even though the JLP government, for example, won what? How many seats, Clinton?
48 so far.
Yes. Yes. I can promise you that 2 years from this, some of the persons who voted for them will be cursing them out.
Right.
Because the promises are
No,
not fulfilled.
why you assume? Why you believe in that? No, come on.
We have seen it over the years. That's what
No,
we
no,
have
no.
seen.
We did very well in the last 4 years. Aren't you expecting us to do even
All
better
right.
this?
Let me rephrase and use another example.
Yes, man.
Jesus Christ, for example, I'm not using the JLP. Jesus Christ, for example, when he was going into Jerusalem, he was being hailed as a king. Shortly after that, the same persons were the ones who shouted, "Crucify him." The point I'm getting at is there's nothing in this world that can give you lasting hope. And religion is one that provides a way make suggestions as to Clinton said it just now, a better hope in the future. And I agree with what you just said.
Okay. But I'm going to tell you, no matter how good the JLP does, no matter how good they do, you're going to have people disappointed by next year. Because that's how human beings are. Okay? We don't.
Clinton, you must agree with that.
We don't see our.
I know. Comrades will always criticize us.
Not what when the PNP did very well in with the financial system, the labor rights cost them under Peter Phillips.
Of course.
Peter Phillips started what the JLP doing now, but because of how we are as people, we curse him, and then the comrades now, and then look at the JLP carrying on the system and doing well, them cost them too. We can't be pleased. You know? We can't be pleased. So we are hope. Any other reason why religion is important? Think about it, man. You're bright guys. Why is religion important to you as Christians?
There's still a search for that higher power. We are curious to find out, where things originated from.
Okay.
I think within that search is the belief that there must be a superior being than us. I think that is adding to what Clinton said. I think that's a part of what.
So religion offers us answers to questions that nobody else is answering.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because when we look at, for example, theology, which is our faith, which is constantly seeking understanding to make sense of the things around us. As you just said, religion is that avenue that provides us with an opportunity to find answers to the faith, our faith, what we believe. So through religion, it gives us an opportunity to understand our faith. And make sense of our conviction, because I think without religion, what we believe would really not make much sense. You know, we don't just be believing, and probably it would be abstract, but religion offers us an opportunity to put that together so it gels, and it can create meaning for us and for others as well.
Okay. So meaning to life. So I'm hearing hope. I'm hearing answering tough questions. I'm hearing providing meaning to us. Anything else? Anything else?
It also help to build your character.
How does it do that?
By the doctrine, it reform or build a Christian worldview, and so by accepting these doctrine, you know, you want to I want to say please God, and I want to say that, but in a sense, you know, live, you know, what you preach.
Okay.
You know, so it reform the man or the woman in such a way, or they socialize in society.
So it tells us how to live. Right.
I also believe that everyone is born with an innate desire for a supernatural being. And we find, or we get an understanding of whatever that supernatural being is through religion.
Okay. Which study, what field of study can you use to prove that?
Philosophy.
Well, I don't know if philosophy proves anything.
Okay. So that we are born with an innate desire.
Yeah. I hope you understand my point.
Yes.
Philosophy says that nothing can be proven.
Right. I think, but I don't know if anthropology is a field of study, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is, right? Yeah. So yeah, anthropology.
It can be anthropology, right? Could be,
Right.
maybe. You know, I know it is a teaching of our theology. Our religions teach us that man has this desire for God. And our experience tells us that many persons do. I don't know if we can definitively say without a shadow of doubt that all people do. But we know of many people who indeed want this kind of close relationship with God. Right? The point is that religion provides us with various things for life. Direction, how we should live, you know, hope for the future in uncertain times. You know, it helps us know how to mold our children. It helps keep society in the straight and the narrow. You know, it helps us to form laws. You'll find that most ancient societies, their laws are formed by religion. You know, it's in recent times that we see people are trying to move away from religion to become more secular, is the word. You know, become more secular in our orientation. But we see our societies were largely formed on the back of religious beliefs. And so many of these things are indeed, and there are others. And as I said, I will share a PowerPoint with you guys. Maybe by tomorrow you'll see it on the site. Okay, I'll share a PowerPoint with you that talks about many of these things as we move forward. Okay, so I want to use like the first two classes or so on, talk about these kind of background types of studies as we move forward in religion. Some years ago in Jamaica, there was a group called Kingston Church of Christ. Anybody here belong to Kingston Church of Christ? Anybody know of it?
I know about, I heard about it, I should say.
Kingston Church of Christ is a very high pressure group that many people call the cult. Okay? And they call them a cult. We will also talk about that this semester. What do we mean by a cult of Christianity? We'll talk a bit more about that. But many people call Kingston Church of Christ a cult. And I remember doing some research on the group, and I found a website called reveal.org. Reveal.org. I don't know if it is still up. But at the time, and this is about 15 years ago, maybe about 15 years ago, at that particular time, the reveal.org was started by a lady who escaped, she said, from the Church of Christ. It was called the International Churches of Christ. And wherever in the world they went, they took the name of the city. They only went into big cities, okay, or growing metropolitan areas. So they come to Kingston, they became Kingston Port of Church of Christ. They went to Portmore, they became Portmore Church of Christ, even though there was a Portmore Church of Christ before them that are not associated with them. Los Angeles Church of Christ, Atlanta Church of Christ, London Church of Christ, wherever it is. And this lady created this website, and it was all geared towards the sociology of understanding the Church of Christ. She had no place for right or wrong doctrine in her mind. A doctrine was only useful or it wasn't useful depending on how it impacted people. Okay? And so she talked about the high pressure tactics that they used through their doctrines and through their church structures that kept people in bondage for years. And that to me was so fascinating. I started to look at these things a little differently. And what became more urgent to me was a story of my own aunt who grew up as a Roman Catholic. But then, as a young lady, she's 14 years, she's 11 years younger than my mother. So that may work though. My mother would be 86 this year, so she was 75 now. 11 years younger than my mother. And so when she was born 1945. So when she was about 18 or 19, she got pregnant. I tell the story now, we'll swap a wrap up, right? She got pregnant at 18 or 19. And the man that she got pregnant for decided to marry her. And they got married. Because in that day and age, you're talking about the early 60s. As a matter of fact, she couldn't be 18 or 19. My brother Andrew is born 1961, and Mark, my cousin, is about 62. So she might have been about 17. Ampet might have been about 17 when she got pregnant. And the man, Richard Cunningham, decided to get married to her. And they got married in that day and age. And her mother-in-law hated her. Because as far as her mother-in-law was concerned, she had wrecked her son's life. Her son had gone pick up the trash of a woman, trash of a girl, and then to get pregnant and so on. Anyway, so in about 1970, after they were married for about 9 or 8 years, about 1970, they moved to New York. And when they went to New York to live in New York, they had to live with her mother-in-law, the same mother-in-law who hated her. Had to live with her. And that mother-in-law treated her so badly. So badly. Treated her like she was, worse than how we say you treat helpers how you treat your health. Treating her badly because that's kind of because you are nobody. You know, you're a loose girl who tricked my son into marrying you. You know, you have children with him now. You have 3 children now, or 4 children already. And look at how young you are. You're not even 38, you have 4 children already. And you know, you're a worthless woman and you have no work. You know, you can't do this, you can't do that. All kinds of things just them. Anyway, it's a long story I want to cut short very quickly, tell you the point of the story. Anyway, one day, my uncle, my aunt's husband came home one day and saw her crying. And she told her how she was treated again by his mother. He told his mother that you will never ever treat my wife this way again. They went to a real estate agent and they got a house to buy and they bought the house, paid on the house. The only reason why they could pay on the house because the house was a dump. Okay, it was a horrible house. And my uncle said, you know, anything to get out of that woman's house. And he was a craftsman, so they went in and they get the house. They never have nothing. In America, you sell a house with fridge and stove. So the house come with fridge and stove. They had nothing else in the house. When they went upstairs the house, they found that there was a bed there that the people were moving and the 2 bed foot broke off. So they just leave the bed. And he said, thank God, God provided for us. They pack up the bed and they nail it up and so on and get bed. And on the bed was a bedspread that they left on the bed because a baby vomit on the bed. And my aunt take it off and them can't check it, go wash it. So that's how them get a bedspread, and then go and then move in the house. And then take them time and fix it up. And here's a quick to the story. One day when my auntie was home alone, knock on the door, and she opened the door, Jehovah's Witnesses. And she responded to them like how we always respond to them in Jamaica. I don't have no time for you. And she locked the door. Them knock again. And she opened the door and they said, you say you have no time, what's up? And so she said, she's been busy doing your housework. They said, we can help you because you look overwhelmed. And in her mind, she said, well, if now get free help, me take it. The lady started to visit her every day and help her with her house chores. As a mother who was home, not being able to work because she never had qualifications at the time, until them start study Bible with her, until she turned Jehovah's Witness. Okay? Her husband despised her. And one Sunday she was going Kingdom Hall and looked on her and said, look on all you now. Get up, gone, but you're gone, Jehovah's wickedness. And forget your husband. You have to make breakfast for me. And she stopped and she turned around and she go back to her room and take off her clothes, put on back her house and make breakfast for her husband. And he said to her, my gosh, if they can change you, they can change me too. In terms of okay? There's no, of course, they become big time witnesses. You can't crack them. Or only the Spirit of God can crack people, you know. But it's not theology that got them there.
That's true, sir.
It is life, it's sociology. Understanding the dynamics of people is what got them there. And to me, it's just fascinating. Why do religious people commit suicide bombings? And why would somebody do that? You know what I mean? Those are kinds of questions that oftentimes come when we think about religion. And we want to spend just a little time raising some of those questions before we go on to look at the theology of religion. And we are not saying that the theology isn't important. I just want to expose you to these other studies. I wouldn't mind. Yes, go ahead, quickly.
The first question is, do you think that sociology is factored into their method of evangelism? And two,
ask that question again. Ask the first question again.
Do you think that they deliberately use sociological strategies in their evangelistic efforts, the Jehovah's Witnesses?
I think they do, but I don't know if they know it. I don't know if they know it as sociological practices, but they do it.
And the second one is, do you think that is a correct method?
Yes.
For evangelism?
Of course.
Or should it be used?
Why not? Remember our friend tell me say some Mormons come to our house in a Montego Bay and then offer help her wash clothes. She said, then keep on coming, so they'll turn Mormon too. Sorry. That's what she says. What's wrong with caring for people? Those groups they find those things easier because their structures are of such that allows their believers to spend time doing that. The Mormon, what you call it, missionaries, that's their full-time job. Jehovah's Witnesses have built into their thing that they have to spend so many hours per week in the field. So the structure of the religion, which is another way of studying a religion, the structure of the religion allows for people to do things like that. Understand? Why can't we do something? Why can't we do similar things? Anything to reach people. Anything to reach people. Anybody have any more questions or comments you want to make? No more? All right. Well, I'm going to end the class, this part of the class, but I want you to start doing something for me. I want you to start thinking if you can come up with 5 questions apart from what we have spoken about in this class tonight. 5 questions that you think you want to get answered from a religious standpoint. Okay? 5 questions. Can be in any area of life. All right? And we want to see how, if we can factor them into whether a discussion on Google Classrooms or Focus, if Focus gets back up, or if my computer starts using Focus properly, because I tried again before I come here, and the JTS is telling me that they are not having any problems with Focus. They've even gone onto my page and have no problems that I am facing from my computer. So I'm going to have to carry it here tomorrow again to see what we can do. If I can get it going, then I will migrate the Focus. But not, we can continue in Google Classroom. I have no problem with that. Continue in Google Classroom. And so we can continue a discussion there as well as we come to class. All right? I will see how we can move forward. If you guys have any questions or concerns as you move forward, please don't hesitate to send me an email. All right? Don't hesitate to send me an email. Or you have my, I can't say you have my phone number because you haven't got my course outline yet. So my course outline will have my phone number. WhatsApp me or whatever. Send me an email and we see how we can move forward. So by next week, you should already have gotten your course outline with all the requirements, okay? And we move forward from there. All right?
Okay, sir. No problem.
All right, guys. Peace and love.
Okay, sure.
All right,
Blessings,
peace.
blessings.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Ricardo,
Damien, I must tell you that I sent you the thing and it came back to me, bounced back to me at first, and then I realized that I had D-A-M-I-A-N Thomas. So I corrected it. So you should have received them things again because I sent it again. All right?
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love, guys. Take it easy.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.